Are you a fan of single barrels? If so, you're in for a treat. Tonight, we have 3 solid single barrel pours. We're going to stack up against one another and figure out who's the winner. Stay tuned.
Simple whiskey, Cyncere. Here to keep it 100. What's the ABV? Keep it simple. Simple whiskey. And be sweeter.
Welcome to the Cynple Whiskey Show. I'm Cyncere, and tonight we're blind tasting 3 phenomenal bourbons, figuring out who the winner is, no holds barred style. Let's go. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell to stay up to date on all things Cynple Whiskey. Let's get started. We have 3 amazing expressions, 2 from Buffalo Trace, 1 rumored to be from Buffalo Trace. Either way, this is one that I consider more of a daily sipper, but at the same token, it's not as easy to come by for other folks. So I share this with as many folks as I can. When I do, I have a couple of backup bottles. E.H. Taylor, this is one that I got on one of my very early drops. As you can see, that a decent amount is gone. I've shared this with a boatload of people as they've came over that may have never had E.H. Taylor single barrel. And then Blanton's Gold. This is one that a buddy of mine, Josh, that actually went down to Kentucky with me, picked up when he was out in California. He called and says, hey, they have Blanton's Gold. You want one? And I'm like, why would I not want one? But yeah, ended up getting this. And the very first night that he got back, he comes over with it and he's like, hey, here's your bourbon, da 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 da. And I'm like, let's crack it. And he's like, you don't have to do that for me. I'm like, no, let's crack it. Let's get to sipping. So we opened this one and I had another regular Blanton's and I'm like, we got to compare the two. How much better is this versus Blanton's? Just like we're about to do now with a blind. And so we do both tastes and then we go through it a couple times, nose and everything else. And the first thing that both of us look at each other and we're like, tastes like Blanton's. So I don't have as high of expectations for this in this pour. And as you can see, only a little bit's out of this one. What I've poured in the glass and what he and I had that night. I don't think I've went back to this since. Haven't been intrigued enough to do so, given I have so many bottles of regular Blanton's. And to me, this tasted just like regular Blanton's. So here we are tonight. Let's see how it stacks up. All right, so I had my wife come down here, pour up a couple of pours, mix them all up. I have no clue what's in them. She was gracious enough to put the little dots on the bottom for me for when I'm done, because obviously she doesn't want to sit down here and watch me talk to a camera. But we're gonna nose all 3, then we're gonna go through and have a sip, then we're gonna eliminate one, come back through, do the same, and then we're gonna pick a winner. So without further ado, let's get to sipping. So A, on the nose, super it's definitely a good caramel note. The nose is really good on this one. Super prominent, super strong. Seems to me like this is going to be one that has a little bit of complexity. Like I said, it's not crazy like chocolate notes or anything like that, but just your traditional oak, a little bit of caramel, that sort of thing. I was expecting it to kind of blow my socks off a little bit more, given I haven't had anything to drink tonight. It's one of those things that typically your first sip is like really hits you hard, but this, super smooth, super easy drinker. If I had to guess, I think I would know what this is, but why would I do that right now when I'm being recorded? I do that in the privacy of my own home, so that way when I'm wrong, can't tell you guys I'm wrong. Let's move on to B. So the nose on this one's a little bit different, almost like a toffee note. Like a toffee, some sort of a darker, bolder candy, like a licorice maybe. Give it a sip. Okay, so a little bit more pungent than A was. Something about this has me curious. The finish on it is a little bit longer than what it was on this one. And for me, this has slightly more complexity, but nothing is too like, oh my gosh, A versus B is night and day. The only difference is the finish is a little bit longer on this one. And again, I get more of some sort of a richer note on the nose that I did not get when I first did A. So now let's try C. Oh my gosh, it's like they increase in strength of nose. Okay. This is so far definitely more impactful, more of a punch. I know that all of these are close to 100 proof, some slightly higher than others, but this right here gives me the boldest flavor so far. So if I'm going to go back through and eliminate one solely off of nose, complexity, finish, B would be out. So now I'm going to go back through. I still have A and I have C still available. So let's go back through one more time. Again, the nose on this is very smooth, very easy going. Even if you go too deep, it doesn't like give you that super ethanol-y smell, even though more often than not it does. But I don't know, maybe that new Elijah Craig I had recently that's 120 plus proof has dampened my taste buds or something, because all three of these are drinking extremely smooth tonight. Hey. So based on the second sip, caramel, a little bit of honey, a little bit of oak, somewhat vanilla. This is a very easy sipper. Whatever this is, it's really good. All right, C again. C was the one that gave me a little bit more complexity the first go around. Heck, it looks a little bit darker if I'm not mistaken, but looking at the bottles, maybe. I don't know. You got the labels on them and everything else. I'm just imagining things at this point. It's Friday. Cheers. See, that time I got a little bit more of a fruitier note, like a plum, something real rich, nothing too bright, nothing too citrusy. A little bit of a fruitier note, definitely more toffee this go around too. A toffee note, caramel, and then some fruit. I don't know if a plum does it justice unless it's just like super ripe, because gives a sweeter fruit burst, but not quite a citrusy or like a super bright fruit this is smooth. Whatever this is very smooth. It's going to be a tough decision, but I think in my mind, I know which way I want to go with this, but real quick, A, smooth and mellow. C, also smooth, but something a little bit more complex to this. Again, I'm not sure if any of these are age stated, but this one seems, at least on the nose, to be a little bit more aged. And this seems a little bit more youthful, but not like 2-year-old bourbon or nothing like that. But just in terms of the nose, that's kind of what I get. And then on the sips, A is like a easy like Sunday morning type vibes, and then C is like you had a long day at the office, you need something to take your mind off of it. Like, that's C. All right, so gotta pick one. All three were good. All three had decent flavor, great nose. Any of these three could be a daily sipper. Granted, given how hard all three of them are to find in most places, I'm not going to quite use them for that except for you. But C is my winner. So let's see what we picked. B, Blanton's Gold. So Blanton's Gold went out first. It had a little bit more of a muted taste. And again, that's comparing these three. That's not necessarily to say this is bad or anything like that. I mean, when you got creme de la creme, in my opinion, you got nice Buffalo Trace expressions, minus you, maybe. It's one of those things that you can't be mad at it because it was still good. But when you're up against E.H. Taylor, John J. Bowman, and then you have Blanton's Gold in the mix, who knows what you end up getting at the end of this type of blonde. So then my tried and true, John J. Bowman. John J. Bowman is one of my go-tos. It pairs well with cigars. I've put this in old fashions. Like, John J. Bowman and I have a very, very deep relationship at this point. Now that I have a couple of backup bottles and I know that I can go to the distillery and get a couple or get one at a time or two if I have my wife with me. Me and John J. go way back, so I'm disappointed that he didn't pull through this go around. But E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. This is one that the first time I had it, I compared it against the small batch. And it's night and day. I enjoy the small batch, but I think that this is like the cheat code to E.H. Taylor. Like, you can't, and granted, I haven't had every E.H. Taylor, so leave a comment below if you have, and if there's something that is better than the single barrel. But of the two bottles I have, the small batch and the single barrel, it's a night and day difference. Like, if I ever see single barrel, that's one that I'll get. It's kind of how I see Stag. Like, when I see Stag out, I don't care what batch, I'm gonna pick it up unless you charging $400 for it, like I saw in Kentucky. But another story for another night. All right, that's the end of this one. E.H. Taylor comes through in first. John J. Bowman close second, maybe, and then Blanton's Gold neck and neck with John J. in the third spot. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bells to stay up to date on all things Cynple whiskey. And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about the pour, it's about who you share it with. So, as always, keep it simple. Cheers.